Proudly brought to you in low quality and low definition, this is Bad Guy Labs, where experiments and free thought are done. I'm Jason Emerson, and here with me is my partner, Cole Koenig.
Hello.
We're here to accept the job of being the bad guys, and you too can join us as honorary bad guys. We're here for you people.
Aw, shucks.
So as a reminder to everybody, you can find us onto internets. You can email us. We can be emailed at BadGuyLabsChannel@gmail.com. We're on Facebook as Bad Guy Labs. We're at Bad Guy Labs on Twitter. Did I leave anything out? I think that's about it for now.
Well, if you do like our show, please subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yes.
We would love that.
Yes.
And make us feel good inside.
When we become a podcast, which won't be much longer, the YouTube channel will stick around for various little bits and pieces of funny shit that we think up.
Yeah, we'll give you a reason to keep coming back.
So yeah, subscribe there. I guess like the things or I don't even know. Does that even matter? Do you like videos? Does it do anything?
Actually, you know what? I don't know. I noticed that like-dislike function on the videos, but it doesn't matter to me. Like, just comment. That's actually what I want to say. Is in past episodes we've sort of joked about whether or not people should contribute to the show via comments and emails, and whether or not we're gonna give a shit. I want to start reading some comments. You know, we've gotten a couple, but I want to keep reading them. So please leave them.
It would be nice. I'm amused by that stuff. I think that liking videos does something to boost you up somehow or something.
Oh.
I don't even know.
See, I wouldn't have even thought about that.
When we become a podcast, we'll be asking people to write us a review on iTunes and other portals. Most people, I guess, use iTunes. It's important to boost us up. I guess reviews like put you up in the rankings somehow.
Okay.
So that's what we'll really be wanting from people when the podcast comes out.
And regardless of whether or not we're podcasting, I want people to accidentally tweet naked pictures of themselves.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Do that to your heart's content.
All around. We're gonna have two Hitler references in the show.
Okay.
We're gonna get some guy dressed as Hitler, except with no pants or something. It's gonna be like when you wish for something, when you get a genie, but the genie like fucks with you and always makes all your wishes suck.
Sort of the classic twist on the genie story is be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, we're gonna get some naked Hitler guy.
Well, I mean, we already broke, like, the whole trend jumped to the shark somehow with Anthony Weiner. The fact that a guy named Weiner tweeted a picture of his wiener.
That's beautiful.
Like, I'm pretty sure Twitter almost collapsed on itself from irony. But
if that's not a case of nominative determinism, I don't know what is. For those of you who don't know, nominative determinism is the idea that, like, whatever your name is, like, you're more likely to be that thing or do something related to that. So, like, if your last name is Baker, you might be more likely to be a baker. And if your last name is Wiener, you're more likely to just haul out the old wiener, flash it around.
Why the fuck not?
I think that was so perfect. It was such a beautiful... When Anthony Weiner pulled out his wiener.
It was a beautiful wiener, is what we're saying.
It was like poetry, like the way his name was Weiner and he hauled out his wiener. It's just... And if you wrote a novel with that in there, everybody would think it was hacky writing.
That's true. That presents you with a good, does life imitate art or does art imitate life sort of moment.
It's like snake eating its own tail, man.
Exactly.
When I saw, Anthony Weiner, sends pictures of his wiener, I was like Tom Cruise in Taps when he was shooting everybody with that machine gun going, "It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful."
It was inspiring. I'm sure it inspired all of the other accidental. I just don't know how that happens. I was screwing around on the internet today, and of course I came across an article of somebody on some TV show accidentally tweeted a topless pic of themselves. It was a woman, and my brain immediately just scrambles. And when I recover, I go, "How do you accidentally tweet a topless picture of yourself?" Like, that to me was the obvious bullshit sign with Anthony Weiner. is at first he was like, "Oh, it's not me. Somebody hacked my account," and then it was something like, I think if I remember correctly, he went straight to, "Oh, I didn't do it on purpose," and it's kind of like. It's kind of like getting arraigned for rape charges, and they're like, "Well, what do you have to say for yourself?" It's like, I didn't mean to do that. I did mean to get an erection. I did mean to take it out of my pants, but I most distinctly did not mean to rape anyone with my erection. And it's like, you took your pants down, you took the picture, you left it on your phone, but I sure as fuck didn't mean to tweet it, for God's sake. That is beyond the pale, sir.
I love how so many things could be accidents. So
it's never an accident. You've seen those public service announcement videos. Remember the Canadian PSAs?
Oh,
with like
yeah.
the terrible accidents, and they like someone like they need to have someone whose like neck is only hanging on by a thin strip of sinew, and like it's not an accident, man. You didn't understand. You forgot to. Like, you forgot to use hand sanitizer. I don't know, I'm trying to think of some absurd way. Like, you didn't say God bless you when I sneeze. Like,
you were cleaning your ear with Q-tips, and it clearly says in every health manual that you're not supposed to insert anything smaller than your elbow in your ear. And now your head is hanging on by one piece of sinew.
Thanks a lot, assholes.
The Canadian PSAs, come to think of it, since one of the things I think about is blaming the victim, and I always talk about fucking fucked up ways of
fucking the victim. That's
is the Canadian PSA, those segments, are they blaming the victim, like the woman who had that scalding hot pot of oil and she spilled it all over herself because she slipped? I don't know. Are you saying that it's her fault, Canadian PSA people, because she wasn't being careful enough? It's her fault because she didn't clean that oil up on the floor?
That's a good point.
Blaming the victim. How dare you, sirs?
Sack of horse shit. God damn.
I bring this up because you shouldn't blame victims, I guess. It's a tricky area. You see on the internet, especially with really PC people arguing with you, how you can never blame the victim. And I think that there are bounds of reason here. And I make light of it here with these Canadian PSA people blaming the victim because
right.
They're not, I'm sure. And I'm just annoyed when something becomes a blanket rule with no thought behind it. I don't know. I'm sort of always thinking about, like, well, maybe there is a little blame to go around. I don't know. I mean, let's say you get raped, and it's because you had your ankles exposed, and like it happened to be that the rapist liked ankles a lot. Mm-hmm. I would say no, that person's not to blame.
Right.
Or on the other hand, if you decide to, it's legal to be topless as a woman in New York State. Let's say you just walk around topless, in how about, let's say, the Bronx this time at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I usually use Queens for some reason. I don't know why, but...
I've noticed that. I didn't really understand
I spent a lot of time in Queens. I used to be a delivery man, and I used to have to deliver restaurant supplies in the middle of the night when nobody was working. Mm-hmm. And Queens is, like, scary as fuck at 3 o'clock in the morning. In those shitty neighborhoods and those back areas, like...
Completely different reason than why Staten Island is frightening at 3 in the morning.
Yes, nothing but clowns. Scary clowns.
Looking out at you from those little basement windows right near the ground. There's just sort of like a soft, dim light next to them, and all of a sudden it just clicks off as you walk by.
So yeah, if you're a woman and you walk topless, say 3 in the morning, and wherever nasty area you want to pick, scary and weird thuggy people around, and then you get raped. Let's say you're wearing bikini bottoms and you're topless, and that's it, and which is perfectly legal and you have a right to do. Are you to blame at all? This is the thing I always bring up, and then this is why I want to have an honest discussion about blaming the victim. I don't want to mock victims, and I don't want to make people feel bad. But what I do want to do is have an honest discussion about everything and analyze things.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be called a rape ableist because I like to analyze things and ask questions and tell jokes once in a while. and a lot of times the jokes are because I'm analyzing something.
I think part of what fucks up the conversation is just, and I've talked about this before, but it's the word blame. I think it's just a loaded negative term, and if you started saying like, who should we assign responsibility to and how much, I think people without realizing it would sort of relax. Their sphincters would unclench, like there would just be a general more relaxed sort of approach to it of to what extent people are responsible for the bad things that happen to them.
That just, in my opinion, complicates matters.
Okay.
And I think people would still find a way to say that you're a bad person, a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to change words if the definition of the word is appropriate, the usage is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does the word blame mean? And if it means what we're talking about in these situations, I don't know. I guess I still would use it.
Well, I guess because it automatically refers to something negative. Like, nobody comes home and is like, who cleaned the whole house and fixed the drain pipes? Is it your fault? Or are you to blame for this wonderful situation?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I think that's why it ends up getting front loaded with shittiness.
Yeah.
Well, because responsibility seems to be more neutral, whereas blame is like I don't know who gutted the dog, like it's who can I blame for this fucked up shitty situation? We discussed there would be no more pet eviscerations. Like,
well, the people online, the PC fucks,
yeah,
always accuse somebody of blaming the victim.
Yeah.
Let's say I said it was a woman's fault if she walked topless and in a pair of bikini bottoms through the Bronx at 3 a.m. and got raped. Let's say I said it was her fault, and I was accused of blaming the victim by the PC fucks.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's at least partially her. She is partially to blame for that. That's what I would say.
Okay.
And they would say I'm blaming the victim. And maybe they're correct. I don't know.
Maybe, but that's the thing is we have no definitive way to know that, but also it's this sort of like, it's classic, like, and I feel like we've talked about this before and I can never remember whether or not we talked about it on the show, but it's just that all or nothing sort of fallacious thinking is you're either saying, well, maybe she could have done things differently. And, well, for one thing, we're fucking ourselves to some extent with some people because we're talking about rape, which is the most sensitive area, I think, with some of this shit. But it's like, if we say, could she have played a role in preventing her own rape, then we're saying she's 100%, 100% responsible in their minds. And they react to that. Whereas when they say, don't blame the victim at all ever, we see that as 0%. And that seems somehow inappropriate, inaccurate. It just doesn't make sense. And just because it doesn't make sense doesn't mean we're right, but I've never gotten an adequate explanation.
Yeah, I think you put that really well. That they could have played a role in preventative maintenance in their life.
Mm-hmm.
They could have. It's bounds of reason. That's the thing. It's bounds of reason. What when you're talking about, I use rape victims because let's just cut right to the bone here. That's how you do that. You talk about rape victims. You could
that's cool with me.
Car accident, people that drive badly. It's all the same thing. But
I was just saying, for the purposes of this conversation, that's like tattooing a swastika on your forehead and walking around town.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
We just might as well. I might as well reveal what kind of a bad guy I am early on in this series, rather than string people along. And
we're going balls deep, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. And fine, I'm the bad guy, and I'm not saying that somebody deserves to be raped. I'm just saying, let's say you get crushed by a big boulder. Let's say that you took a nap under a giant boulder that was precariously placed, and then it fell on you, and like severely injured you, or killed you or whatever. I don't know. Like, I would blame you,
right?
And I think rapists and psychopaths are a lot like boulders. They're not really people in the same sense that a moral person is. they're more like a boulder. They're more like an object or an animal just out instinctively affecting the world negatively most of the time.
Okay.
And if you know there are psychopaths out there, are you going to just do whatever, exercise all your rights, no matter how much danger you get put in? Or are you going to realize there are psychopaths and act accordingly? That's all I'm saying. You know, you could say, well, if only the psychopaths would stop raping people. Well, yeah, if you put the word if in front of anything, you can make everything all just beautiful rainbows and fucking sunshine farts or whatever the expression is. I don't even remember.
Right.
But that's not how it works. You can't just throw the word if in front of things and fix things. Because you could do that with anything. And it's a conversation ender, the word if. It's looking at the reality of the world, not the speculative way that people do when they put the word if in front of something.
Yeah.
The reality is there are psychopaths, just like there are boulders precariously placed, and you have to learn how to avoid being harmed by them. Mm-hmm. And this means that while you can exercise your rights, you shouldn't always exercise your rights to the expense of not being sensible.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I mean when I say I blame victims sometimes. That's why I joke about it. But I doubt the PC fucks out there are going to get that and understand what I'm talking about.
Well, right.
I'm just going to be a rape ableist.
Well, and I think it's a good idea to sort of treat people that do shitty things sort of like a force of nature. In that, insofar as like you're not, just like you're not going to do anything about gravity or entropy. You're not going to do anything about the fact that there are people out there that are going to want to do things like rape and whatever else.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think I mean I can see or I can sense an objection from some people because you know, in the sense of like a boulder isn't the same as necessarily a rapist, but it's still like, as far as you're concerned as an individual, you should probably treat them the same way.
Yeah, they're forces. They're mobile forces that are capable of hurting you if you don't take some precautions.
Yeah.
And if you don't look around in your environment. I would never take a nap under a boulder, and I would never, even though I have the right to walk through any neighborhood I fucking well please, I don't exercise those rights. And it's a messy thing. Like, it's not just walking through neighborhoods. It's many different times when what you're doing is increasing your risk factors.
Right.
And I mean, this is something they taught us in high school. It was some kind of, it might have been like a health class or something like that.
Health was sort of a catch-all bullshit place to put stuff like that.
Yeah, and we did a section on risk factors.
Yeah. And
I could see like a PC fuck reading some of the stuff about risk factors and decreasing them and saying, just blaming the victim. Blaming the victim, sah. So
advice about when and if to wear condoms, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and like how not to put yourself in danger. Like
right.
How to increase your likelihood of living to an old age. You decrease your risk factors, which means you don't put yourself in as much danger or risky situations.
Right.
And, you know, we had to do like little charts to sort of tally up our own risk factors and how we could improve our lives by reducing our risk factors. Like,
right.
If you like to go skydiving and motorcycling, and if you like to engage in like dangerous activities, and you like to travel to third world countries, or you like to eat like junk food all the time and smoke and drink, things like that. You know, all these different risk factors.
I probably think the only time I would ever jump in on the side of what I'm guessing is the side of the PC fucks that we've been talking about is like how this got handled in court. Because to me, there's a difference between how we talk about it and then like how charges are brought against a person and handled. Because like if you know, if the rapist, you know, who raped the girl walking around in the bikini at 3 a.m. through a shitty neighborhood got to court and they were like, you know, and the judge was like, oh, she was doing that? Well...
Oh, no, you don't let the rapist off. No, you fucking nail him to the wall.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say a word to her. I would, there's nothing you can say. She's already been raped, and you feel sorry for her.
Right.
And you incarcerate the rapist. but it's more of a preemptive sort of thing. Before she got raped, I would have said, "Sweetie pie, sweetie pumpkin, don't do that. Don't walk through that neighborhood at 3 a.m. topless, wearing bikini bottoms.
Right,
it's a bad idea."
Yeah, and I'm putting that out there because a lot of the times, we go after political correctness and people that have that sort of, rod up the ass mentality about this kind of shit. But then there's the people that hear that and they're like, right on, guys, like, fuck her. Like,
yeah. Fuck you guys too. Yeah.
Throw out the case. She was being a dumb bitch. It's like, no, wrong. You fucked up there too.
Yeah, I see us taking kind of a big risk attracting like the wrong types, so we'll just have to see how it works out. But yeah, no, we're not saying
right. I got an impression of where you were going with that. Go ahead. Anyway,
so we'll from time to time keep going back to blaming the victim and little examples, as such. We actually have a segment sort of planned out about blaming the victim, which I did not have here today, but we actually made quite a nice little little statement about that.
Well,
all from those Canadian PSAs.
it's our PSA.
Basically. Yes. The more you know.
So instead of slipping and being covered in whatever 800-degree grease, it's a girl just like twirling her cell phone around, walking down an alley in a bikini at 3 a.m. and then a violent rape takes place. I shouldn't have said that when you took a drink.
Oh man.
And then at the end, I don't know what the fuck. That's the thing. I don't even pay attention enough to know what those Canadian PSAs said at the end. But we can just do it more,
Yeah, it was. Well, I guess all they did at the end was just said like, be careful, pay attention, something like that. I think that's. There was one with hot grease. There was one where somebody was like standing on top of a broken ladder in a department store, like hanging something up.
Yeah.
I think there was one.
There was one like in a warehouse, I think.
Yeah.
There was like a forklift or some shit.
And he got like crushed by a bunch of boxes and things.
Yeah.
Was there one where an abusive man poured hot coffee all over a waitress's tits?
Yeah, where like a dickhead like fucking attacked a waitress at a restaurant.
Yeah, because she spilled a little bit of coffee on the table.
This might have been a different series about domestic abuse.
Maybe,
though.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't tolerate it at a restaurant, so why should you let people get away with it?
I'm picturing our own little PSAs. The first thing that popped to mind was those guys from Fensler film that redid the G.I. Joe PSAs.
right.
To this weird fucked up shit. If you guys haven't seen that, by the way, just go on YouTube and just type in G.I. Joe parody, PSA parody. And there are maybe 20 or 30. I don't know how many they did, but instead of the sailor telling a couple boys on a bicycle to like be careful or whatever the fuck it was he said, he just walks up to them and he goes, "My God, I think I knew your mother, son. Did you play baseball? Does your mother still hang out at dockside bars?"
Ew.
Or, of course, the body massage one.
Oh, yeah.
Who wants a body massage?
See, talking about the G.I. Joe PSAs, for some reason, made me think of a way to turn the our rape PSA into something even more positive, is to basically make like a super heroine who purposefully goes out trolling for rapists in the bikini in the bad neighborhoods, and then when somebody tries to attack her, she's basically ready for it with her dick cutting off mechanisms.
That's pretty good.
So it's like baiting those asshole guys who purposefully are, just aching to rape somebody. It's like, wah, instant castration.
She has a cigar cutter inserted into her vagina, and she like has trained herself to squeeze her. She's done Kegel exercises to the point where she can operate the cigar cutter, so that when somebody like tries to rape her, she just like does a Kegel and then cuts the guy's dick off, and then I don't know, flies away or whatever.
Somehow stored up in the bikini is like garroting wire.
If I was a cartoonist, if I was a good cartoonist, I would make a comic book series, like a self-published comic book of that. I think that would be worth a read.
It's sort of also the answer to the Rapeman comics.
Yeah. What if Rapeman met this
rape girl,
I guess.
I don't know what else to call her.
Anti-rape girl, or
I don't know. The
non-rape girl? I don't know.
We're going to have to work on this one. It's basically the idea.
Kegel Woman?
That could be something entirely different. But yes, it could be the arch nemesis of Rapeman.
That would be weird. That's like a new version of Zeno's paradoxes. Because Rapeman had superpowers and he was unstoppable.
Right.
And also our rape girl or Kegel Woman or whatever is also super powerful. It's like an immovable, an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object.
Yeah.
It's like that. What happens? Who wins out in that?
I think they just bounce off of each other. Like, he can't rape her and she can't castrate him or whatever. They just, they're destined to do that dance.
Yeah.
Or maybe they team up. That could be interesting, too.
Well, that would be an ideal partner for Rapeman because he needs somebody who could like stand up to him and not be raped by him. So that would be
especially if the logic is that he's somehow raping people who deserve to be raped.
Yeah,
and she's castrating people who deserve to be castrated.
Well, that's interesting, I guess. Of course, you're walking a fine line there, saying people deserve to be raped, but
well, of course.
That's another one of those areas that's very similar to the blaming the victim conversation of, do people deserve to be raped? Like when Louis C.K. said that if he went back in time with a time machine, he wouldn't kill Hitler, he would just rape him.
Right.
When Louis C.K. says that, he words it in such a way so he can get away with saying somebody deserves to be raped.
Yeah.
And again, the PC fucks with their extremist type of thinking, saying nobody ever deserves to be raped, and you're a horrible. Not only that, but you're a horrible person for even thinking it. And I'm not a horrible person. I have my character flaws, but I don't think I'm the problem in the world. Really.
Right.
I just want to have an honest conversation again, much like blaming the victim. I don't know. Could we justify raping Hitler? Would that be? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think anybody would shed a tear over it, except for maybe Hitler.
I mean, unless he's into that kind of thing. I don't know.
Somehow it just always circles back to him, and as soon as you've established that Hitler deserves to be raped, then you just kind of go, who else? I don't know.
You start working your way down until you...
Well, once you've already started with Hitler, everybody else seems like, incrementally less deserving, and you start going, well, I don't know if we should, rape Mussolini. Or I don't know. Well, I'm sticking on World War II.
Well, yeah, Mussolini is definitely not as bad as Hitler. He was bad, but... He was no Hitler.
Exactly, yeah.
It's sort of like A-list versus B-list celebrities. I mean, there are sort of the A-listers in the tyrannical world. Mm-hmm. There are the Hitlers, and I guess the Genghis Khans. Although I don't even know if Genghis Khan as bad as Hitler. It was pretty bad.
See, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. Like most good American school children, I did not learn about Asia in school. So all I know is that Genghis Khan existed, established an empire. Do we know, from the historical record, that he was particularly evil and cruel in spreading his empire?
I think he was...
Or is he just personally an asshole?
I think he was ruthless, but I don't think he was, Hitler ruthless. He has a lot of descendants, which means he slept with a lot of women, and his sons slept with a lot of women after him.
You could say the same thing about like Abraham.
Yeah. I mean, assuming Abraham even existed, but I know what you mean.
Well, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure Genghis Khan. I mean, he's one of those guys. There's probably no Hitler. He was just a powerful dude with very plastic morals.
Okay.
And I'm sure he stabbed like thousands of people to death on his horse with his giant sword or whatever it is he did, and had his people doing like his goons doing goon stuff for him, and I'm sure he raped a ton of women, but
probably
he didn't have like a final solution.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Is there's a big difference between like meeting people in battle and not like going, seriously guys, you're gonna lose, so just give up, and then killing them when they don't give up, and like just rounding up people, putting them on trains and gassing them. Like, it just seems different when someone's, I don't know.
All right, so I'm gonna come down here. I'm going to declare that Genghis Khan gets to escape from being raped.
All right, Genghis Khan
is undeserving of rape.
Does not get raped.
Are we not merciful people here? As Jack Huger would say. How about? I don't think Mussolini deserved it either. So he was just. It's that final solution that really takes away the compassion for raping Hitler. Joseph Stalin, I would probably argue that he. I don't know. He killed more people that I've heard than Hitler did.
Right, but he had the advantage of killing people that lived like Russians. He didn't discriminate based on like religion or ethnicity, as far as I know. Someone who has a more intimate knowledge of Russian history could tell me, but as far as I know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I don't know. And it's not so much would he deserve to be raped, but if somebody went back in time with a time machine and raped him, would anybody shed a tear if Joseph Stalin got raped by a time traveler?
Well, and a big question in all of this is how and when do we do it? Like, do we rape Hitler before he is the Fuhrer? Before he's done anything?
There have been Star Trek episodes about that where they're like time.
I'm going to disagree with you, sir. There have been no Star Trek episodes about raping Hitler.
There was an episode of Voyager where somebody got long story short, a bunch of shit happens over like a two-parter, and at the end some captain in the future gets arrested because the show was about him doing a bunch of like hideous shit.
Okay.
And then they just go back to before any of that happened and arrest him. The time police or whatever arrest him. And he's like, "What? I didn't do anything." But you just watched an episode where he did a bunch of shitty things.
Right.
But it was weird because they arrested him before he did anything. But they knew he was going to do it because they have a fucking time machine.
Right.
So that is a weird idea. Like, is that, I guess you could solve a lot of crimes that way. But I would feel like this fucking sucks. Like, if somebody just pops in the room right now and hauls me away, because they say in like a week I'm gonna like machine gun down like 97 people or something. Like, I know I'm not, but apparently there's time travelers here in the lounge, and they're telling me I gotta go with them.
Because I raped 97 people.
So I'm gonna say I wouldn't shed a tear if Joseph Stalin got raped. And the thing about when to do it, I mean, of course, there's all this shit that people have talked about of fucking up the timeline and making paradoxes, and I don't know. If you have a time machine, I guess presumably, and you're not a comedian, you go back and you just fix the problem, assuming there would be no paradoxes. Louis C.K.'s joke was that he would rape Hitler, and it would have taken away all his like ambition, and he wouldn't have done any of that shit. But he wouldn't have had to kill because I guess his point was that murder is worse than rape.
Right.
And, so you could still have. That's another question that this leads into is everybody redeemable in the world, or are some people just unredeemable?
Right.
And
like, would it have been a good idea to rape Darth Vader?
I'm not sure where you would do it.
Well, according to the prequels, he only lost his arms and legs.
Yeah, I guess. Ugh, that scarred up old. Ugh.
That's we'll see. You say that scarred up yuck, and that raises another question. Is it like being the guy who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima? Like, do we have to? How do we figure out who the guy is? Who has to do it? Assuming it's a guy, which I sort of assumed it is.
I'm pretty sure it was a guy. Yeah, and
no, not the Enola Gay thing in Hiroshima. I mean, like sending a guy to do the raping.
Oh. Well, I mean, I guess you could send, like, a hardcore lesbian with, like, a big strap on and, like, let her do it. I don't know, whatever. But,
right.
I don't know. There's so many... All I can think about right now is, like raping Darth Vader's, like, vent hole. That's all. I got distracted. And now I can't go on with the conversation.
There's not many other contexts in which you would be free... in admitting what your mind is dwelling on. Thinking about raping Darth Vader's vent hole.
We are the bad guys.
Or the Emperor. I mean, clearly he's the better choice since he doesn't seem to ever redeem himself. Yeah.
Well, this whole question of redeeming, I mean, some of my more hippy-dippy friends would say, like, yes, like, I'm against the death penalty, for example. Okay, my hippy-dippy friends would be really against it. And some libertarians I know, too, who aren't hippy-dippy at all, are against it because they don't believe under any circumstances you should ever kill somebody for any reason. And I'm not sure. I mostly fall in line with that. Except I, like, would totally kill somebody, like, under the right circumstances. And I wouldn't bat an eyelash. Like, if somebody was really fucking with my life and, like, came into my house or something and, you know, I wouldn't like be, well, you know, we have to think about like feelings and if he's redeemable, if we gave him the right kind of rehabilitation. Like, no, he's going to die. The guy is going to die.
Well, yeah, but like that's how people want to argue with you. Like, because I take the anti-death penalty stance and people argue with you in such a way that they're like, but this guy like raped and murdered 4 dozen 5-year-olds. You're not going to kill him? And I'm like, okay, I'm not saying that the guy isn't like... You're saying that in every situation we perfectly know the guilt of everybody who did horrible, heinous things.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't fucking know that. And that's my principal objection. And then, of course, yeah, like... I'm not saying the guy doesn't deserve to die, because it kind of sounds like he does. The fictional person I just made up. You know what I mean? But that's always the thing, is they always say, well, what about this watertight case where this guy definitely did all kinds of horrible things? He admitted to it. It's like, well, you know, yeah, it's...
That's pretty much why I'm against the death penalty, too, because we know of all these times where people were, you know, accused of a crime and then it turned out they didn't do it, the Innocence Project, etc.
Right.
So that's why I'm mostly because I could see a case where either of us gets hauled into court and railroaded, and we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
There are plenty of books on the subject I've read. It reminds me of back in the 80s, there were a lot of people being accused of being in satanic cults.
Oh yeah.
And it turns out that none of that was real, but people were convinced.
Moral panics.
And like police lineups are very inaccurate, and eyewitnesses are very inaccurate, all that stuff, and that scares the shit out of me. So yeah, under those rules, you know, I wouldn't want the death penalty to exist. But on the other hand, let's say that we captured Hitler alive.
Okay.
Let's go back to that for a minute.
Right.
Let's say instead of him committing suicide with Eva Braun, we got him, and what do we do with him? I mean, at Nuremberg, they just hung a bunch of Nazis.
Right.
They didn't really fuck around.
Right.
Like, we're tired of your shit.
Right.
86, your shit, Nazis.